Hello Collective, this is a timeless, the love variant reading for you. Whatever brings you here, there may be something within this reading here for you. However, bear in mind that you have checked into a collective reading and not a one-to-one reading with me, 7th. Love variant discusses however love may be absent or present in your life, however love may trigger you, how love may be conditional or unconditional for you, and whatever wants to be discussed is welcomed within this moment. So again, use your discernment to take all of that which belongs to you as you leave the reading behind. Leave the pieces that don't belong to you behind along with it. Okay? Again, I am 7th, aka Master 7th that reads these energies for you. I am a master healer that provides remote wellness alignments and provide tarot intuitive insights such as this. Please remember that feminine and masculine energies are non-gender specific. However, femininity encapsulates both feminine and masculine energies, as well as masculinity encapsulating both femininity and masculinity. Someone's asking for judgment. Fake happiness is coming through, so you're like a little bit, it's, I mean, it could be so many things. One prominent thing that's coming up is that you present your life in social media a certain way, but behind the lens, before that moment, after the moment, life isn't as joyful. There's some seeking of validation via likes and dislikes. There's a lot of, oh, they're that, so why can't I be that too? And I'm seeing a lot of drunken blackouts. Drinking to the point of passing out here and not remembering. Look at that. Devil energy came out. We're not taking these energies, but look at that. Devil, moon, the world, King of Swords, 6 of Wands, completely delusional. Oh, the energy I can't stand. Also being told not to take this one. Wondering which one? It's this one. All right, 7 of Swords. Everything's tucked back in. All right, let's do it again. Y'all are seeking justice, so let justice for you and show her flow. If it's not her for you, it's it. Look at that, my little light back there turned off. It's brand new batteries too. Doing the most. Yeah, doing the most. Doing the most, but not being able to do a shit. Acting out. Alright. Doing the most sounds sassy because I believe the majority here know better. Yep, you know better. Alright, yep, you know better. The Sun with the Tower. Ironically, it's funny I'm being told to take this, huh? The Tower, the Sun, the Ace of Cups. You know better. That's it, reading done. Alright, you're in search of the light at the end of the tunnel. However, I need to be the one to remind your eye of the third eye, whether you believe in it or not, but the love is sure as hell sounding enticing to you. You're here for something. You're here on the quest for something, no? You want to say, am I supposed to stay in my lane? Does anyone else come and share my lane? You know, is this a happy home? Does my husband love me? Does my wife love me? Does my spouse, my partner love me? Are we going to get married? Are we going to get divorced? Raw authenticity of the decisions already have made and living in real time in the true colors of that expression. Hence, I did not mention likability within that expression. It's just an expression. Real-time reactions, real-time answers. That's how y'all, most of y'all know. Y'all already know. Y'all already know. The light at the end of the tunnel is an illusion. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. You are the light. And what you see is at the end of that perspective is more or less the mirage at that distance of that point at that focal point. You saw my glitch? Heard my glitch? Is created out of your desperation, and that desperation is the darkness perceived to make it a tunnel point of view, but all whilst trying to teach you that you are the sun. You are the light, the thunderous lightning rod of the connection to it all. You are it. You don't want to believe it. Your hands are full of knowing. And while you know what you know and the most of what you know, you are always humbled by Mother Nature. There is no way of trying to defeat that ego. You can try to outwit Mother Nature with money because she didn't produce money. Man-made money. Man-made money. And what is man-made, there has been put death onto. I mean, man is also very in charge of all the hypocrisies and our perception of the inevitable in our relationship to it, because we like to mock like children. We like to imitate what other people do and see whether or not that's a likable thing to keep going with or not, or if we can change it, if that adds character development or not. So you're asking a lot of questions. You asked a lot of questions coming into the love variant reading. And you're leaving the reading more or less receiving your answers when you understand your relationship to darkness, which I will have to remind you is not what you more or less will, from a negative perspective point of view, is to be feared. We are more than happy and interested to teach you how to rekindle with that of which it is you were created in and within, and have with witness you to you being here sharing this moment. Perhaps you are a example of what is without in that version of within, because you were within an incubation process and then you came without. Without is being out of and feeling as if you're without of anything, and that is the most challenging question of either the incubator for you to ask upon thyself, because you are literally putting breath onto it, finding that answer out. Oversimplified maybe, but let's remind you of the oversimplicity, so that way we can make some sense to all the shit that you had to traverse to get to a likable commonality with this simplicity. And then maybe we can understand which variables need to change, which denominations need to change, which perspectives or which relationships to that of which we have or don't have need to change. A little bit of responsibility, a lot of accountability, and a shit ton of fucking dignity. All right? So attitude change. There's circumstantial evidence change coming through here, not in a version of justice, but maybe the foreseer of justice, okay? To teach you the running game of how Mother Nature is very much alive, not just in the breaking news, in the mysticism of what's out there that's paranormal or taboo or whatever, but she's here to teach you not to fear that shit, and that she is in control of that. She's in control of those reactions. So typically we would say that it's the card of Wounded Warrior around Tower and death that seems tragic. All right, it may have a juicy story, and not because it's delicious, but because it's packed with so much that really can impact an individual who has a listening ear for that. Some of you may not have a listening ear around you, or may have lost a person close to you that provided that statue of safety for you to vent. And that is a cycle that was most likely not something that you wished upon yourself to be in, if that's something that you resonate with. Yet with the Wheel of Fortune and the mysticism that the sun and the moon provide, is that there is something that can be calculated in life and be made into an argument and then figured out whether or not we compromise on that likability or not. And then there is the other side of that coin, the honesty. And whether or not you can quantify that honesty is irrelevant for that honesty, because honesty is too busy being honest. So doesn't have time for liars, doesn't have time for impurities, doesn't have time for dysfunctioning energy, but sure as hell will master the energies that thinks they can outwit honesty. Okay, because that's more or less to teach you that how to begin that association of acknowledgement is to understand your ego is in charge of creating that legend, to see what is what and what could possibly be of what. All right, for example, if you were to check out my description box or have any sort of understanding of my channel, I provide the Devil series, where I challenge the listening ear to understand what I mean when I say this is the devil energy reading, where it's the ego that doesn't know if it's operating of light and or of darkness and wants to play a game with you. Okay, so humbling all the taboos and the mysticism and bringing it down to a palpable conversation amongst each other over a cup of coffee is the goal here. If we have to go over simplification in order to unify us more closer, then I think that would be a very great ticket of the magic carpet to travel on. What's the problem? What do we have to lose? If this brings us to the starting point, great. I'd like to go home too. Let's go home. So it's a question of where do you think home is? I think on a grand political level, metaphorically and not, it has reached our consciousness, at least the ability that we can sure as hell talk about it for years and decades and maybe generations to come, like most other telecommunications of history, is what procured for the global phenomenon of within 2020. I'm within this context of recording this reading and these energies in 2025, which is the year compared of 2020, which is a 4. 2025 is a 9. So within 5 years, there is a 4, year 4, and then in 5 years' time, it's a year number 9. So in 5 years, we've completed completion, right? And it might seem so long ago because we hear the number 9, but it was only 5 years ago, which was the number 4. And dealing with those emotions is like the tide coming in and out here and saying like, whoa, man, like that was wild. Do you have a wild story? Yeah, you remember? Yeah, I remember. Like, that's where we get to collectively, through remaining in our own lane and dictating and showing up to our own bullshit, how we can collectively change a cumulative global issue. How does this affect love? You decide that as you take what you can and leave what you must. I do understand, for example, whether that answers more or less the question how it relates to love, is that for the energies that I read for and depict this reading to be tied to on this channel, and it's labeled Sekhmet. And I am 7th, that says I read for the energies of such. And I have no interest to speak of religion. And if you know me personally, I'm very naive. That it is a level of interest I must trigger, whether that is to trigger an immediate likability towards me, or on the contrary. That's more or less the goal of the energy. And if that means that energy is going to go back to basic and being the only one, that's cool too. You understand the drift here? There is no way that you can insult this energy, because the energy is separate from the result of what it decided to trigger. So in bringing that fairness, and for the small majority at this time, in what it means to, for me 7th, to show up and present these readings to you and for you, and for whenever it however long it exists, it is imperative to, and for Sekhmet energy to reach the point of logic. And logic either could be rational or irrational. And that's in fairness to the processing engine, to how the mind and emotions can make sense of things, and how overall justice could be either likable, favorable, or not. And how that can also politically change according to the land marker and latitude or longitude of where you are. And since there's so many different collective issues, it is again out of interest for the basics of Sekhmet's energy to care of how to return to that basic in order to get her point of view coming from that landing zone. Why do I say this? Because I've noticed that for the few individuals that have been with these energies of mine, and maybe at the same time for anyone to come, is the dislike towards the words shared within justice readings that I have put up as of late, or if they're still available when you come across this reading. Of course they are. It's justice energy. Anyway, but point is, I'm tailoring this reading for as present I can be with you in this moment, and that is the most prominent energy of gift, that if you're here in this present moment, you're sharing with me my present current moment via past energy. And the timeline will be irrelevant for what is what, to bring to a point of finite, that there is no need to timestamp things. And justice of one will prove that point, while every other number will come from that power of solidarity with itself. Many won't probably like it, but many may want to aim for it. And to aim for it is to be like Aries energy, right? And be that transcending force, be that bull. Another force is to be that Taurus energy. Sit with thyself and really continue with the force of what it is that you feel so much of. And you have Gemini energy, being the transcender of pendulums and bookends of pros and cons, and being in the gray area of decisions at all moments with glory and pain. And then you have Cancerian energy, which is the maternal energy of I feel everything gutturally in my instincts, yet the blasphemy of feeling and knowing that my heart and my mind is not in my gut instincts. I'm constantly in one way and or another uncertain of myself. And then you may have the inquisitions of, Leo energy, where it's this fight or flight syndrome with a desire to have a pack at all times to figure that out for themselves, which gives them fight and which gives them flight. And then you have Virgo, who will be the first one and the last one to admit, lives in their own contradictions, because they, like Gemini, analyze everything, yet not with just the mind, but with the logic of the pain of the heart, and completely sacrificing the guttural instincts, because not everything that's good for you tastes good. And then you have Libra, which might be in a sort of confusion, loving the feeling of feeling everything and justifying whether or not the truth will come from someone's heart space or if it comes from the rationality of a situation or because of a situation. And then you would have maybe Scorpio energy, who's like, fuck rationality, just be, and then everything will be determined for you, whether or not it's rational or not. And I do so in silent maneuvers, and I do so with wanting to bridge the communication of communication, because without communication, how do we become rational? And then we have Sagittarius energy, who says to everyone, like, y'all are very smart, but let me show you something. And they step into a role where they understand what got them to say that, yet then they forget how to present their work. And then you may have Capricorn, who says to the group, I like how Sagittarius pulled y'all aside, but y'all need to learn how to work together. And since I don't have the time to teach all y'all, just follow me. Watch what I do. And sacrificing that sometime in that talent is living in a world of internal contradiction, because then they learn, oh, money isn't, transaction isn't everything. There's a lot more to this shit. More like, what are the materials that make money? What's the sustenance? What's the secret? And why can't I see myself talking about it with everyone? What's the secret in that? And then you have Aquarius, who's like, the secret isn't everything and in all, just love each other. Find it in the secret of conversing. Find it in the secret of being humanitarian with everything. Being raw and naked with the availability of time of emotional upload or downloading. And then Pisces says, yep, I agree, but I sure as hell don't fuck with it. Okay, so do I remember now why I went through all the fucking signs to give you an understanding what it means to be who you are? No, the card flew up a long time ago, but it was upside down. Don't care to prove it. But I guess this is the answers just to why. Okay. We went from earlier, you know better, to being the naked child and being mature and being part of the cyclical cycle that we're all a part of, because maybe throughout all that character, whatever that was, you found yourself relating to all of them. So do I truly care to make love variant readings for Aries? No, this is a collective bullshit shit of a shit show. As much as it can be beautiful, delicious, alluring, seductive, provocative, and peaceful. And in that peace, there's structure and boundaries. There's navigational forces, and those navigational forces should not have any, let's call them roadblocks. All right? You question yourself why you may discredit someone for being overly simplified, how I was told as a patient in the hospital by a doctor. Oh, you're oversimplifying it. Eh? All right. There's so many things that are wrong with that statement. Well, I'll give you credit for you giving birth to that statement. All right. That took me out. That completely wiped me clean here with what I very, very much wanted to tie everything together. Because that was personal. Personal attack. And that's exactly how seclusive that's supposed to be. Smack dab, oh, your problem. Like, oh, I know. Stop. I get it. I know, I understand. I can't even say that too much because then someone around me would be like, oh, you're so egotistic. You have no idea. Boy, sometimes I want to try to be a little bit more so that I can get away from all y'all. You know? Like, the world is funny and too busy throwing so many projections out there because we're all left feeling some type of way. We're all pressed. We're all pressed, and we've all been just pressed. We're feeling pressed, and it's okay. Some of us are impressed, some of us are depressed, some are, or we're just pressed. That's how much it's our narrative to control our rising and our setting. Yeah. And then living with the consequences and showing up to accountability to those consequences that we either were forced into, robbed into, been made a victim of, catapulted ourselves into being predatorial and learned the consequences of that. Like, shit gets fucking real when it comes to loving ourselves. I just took us to a whole fucking global aspect of the zodiac signs. A lot of that felt personal, right? Like a fucking personal attack. All with the premise in question, is love to be found maybe for me? Or maybe is that the question? Is love to be found for me? Is love existing for me? Is the love that says that loves me the love? A few weeks ago, at an event that I did for reading, someone asked me that, and I thought it was so interesting. Where have we gone to in a thought where we make decisions that are very, very in your face and practical and needed your attention to make, where some of the questions that occur outside of that transaction are like, what? It's intriguing, you know. It makes you wonder, well, how did you land in that position in the first place to be sitting in the position now to question that decision? Like, was it a safe journey? Was it a secure journey? What was it? So, yeah. But it is very individual to understand the journey of love and to work with those conditions that you came in that reflect back to you with what you get to see of yourself. Whether you never look in the mirror or are posting selfies every moment of as when you can. I don't want to be too insulting. I don't want to say we've been there, done that, but I'm sure as hell can say I've been there, done that. I remember being able to, like, the trickery I did in my own brain with some of the things that I can timestamp in my life. It's like, don't regret shit, but it's like, was that necessary? Like, beyond the fact that it occurred, it wasn't necessary. And then the situation is what it is. So it's like, yeah, of course it was necessary. You did it, like, or it happened. So everything is very personal. And there are certain times where some people are just bombarded with how personal they feel with everything that makes them feel. And of course it can result into struggling relationship with yourself, because the world wasn't perfect when you entered, and it may not be perfect when you exit. But to enter and to exit is not the beginning nor the end. It's a continuing cycle. And if anything can bring a cloak of honor, it's knowing that and embracing that and accepting that, to the point where you reach the limit of like, all right, this is the closest to the oneness I can get. I figured it the fuck out, and let me just entertain everything else here, because I know I ain't the one, so I am the one that had to keep everything together. So, but I am in a one body. I got what I have. I'm grateful that I have two hands. I have these many fingers. I have my toes. I have what I have, and I get to be grateful with that journey of having it. And if I'm going to be honest and personal, this is not many people land in this niche, because it's all that glitters and gold. No, quite the contrary. All right, and more ways than one, tarot saved my fucking life. And I was smart enough to not be interested, because I saw other people dabble in it and lose their life in drugs or alcohol or an abuse of such. So I would never allow my ego to sniff up the ass of that curiosity long enough to be like, oh, this is something I want to get lost in. No, I'd rather get lost in the emotions of what's constantly triggering me. I'd rather get lost in that shit, not subdue it, not figure it out. I've always been wanting to figure it the fuck out, and that has a lot to do with medical issues and shit as well that I was labeled with by society. But that is to kind of round out that, in full disclosure, we're dealing with an age of disclosure. And this disclosure is about taking in massive ways information, and you being the sole body of who you are, the pieces that will make it make sense to you. And that may result in being catapulted in cognitive dissonance, where you're going to maybe go back into the basics and get the rewired and hardwired engine instead of a Tesla, getting back into like, hopefully it's not illegal in every state by then. So you can fucking jumpstart your car in case of the apocalypse. Some of y'all like, oh, she said it's coming. I don't know, but I can talk a shit ton of shit that already felt apocalyptic. Like, that shit, if it's coming, I'm ready. I'm done with what I've experienced. So if that's next, okay. How you gonna get me more than you already got me? But okay. The apocalypse, it's not all bombs and bullets and bloodshed. Nope. It's cutting you off from your mental. That's what that is. All right. And it's all important, because if you're going to be this hungry, and if you are hungry, and it is potentially making an ass out of myself with this assumption that you came here inquiring about love, am I assuming? And are feeling maybe that you're like, wait, am I about to leave this reading and still have fucking the same questions? Maybe. But I'm telling you that you got the answers, so now what's up? You're gonna be mad at that. Love variant reading, y'all. Variants come in very different dosages. Oh, I was about to be sassy as fuck. That was some intense Sekhmet energy. You're lucky I can handle that shit, because she about to go. And then y'all be like, thumbs down. Thumbs down. I did not like that. Did not like that. Look how much they tried to silence Sekhmet energy. And it seems like 2025 in the calendar of whatever it means to be in this area of consciousness. Going back to the basics. All right, Page of Cups. You smelling something fishy? That's right. You smelling it. Keep smelling that, because if you're smelling something fishy, that's not of purity. And if in your world that's me, then you have successfully gotten rid of me. You're welcome. And thank you. Ooh, this is going to be for the undertaking, y'all. This is going to be for the undertaking. All right? But what I will say, be mindful of the reactions that your body is telling you at this time. It would be very important to have a relationship with your body and bring peace to it, at least in those moments when you close your eyes. Okay? You need to find that balance. You need to find a method of calmness within that storm that either occurs before, middle, or after the time that you're supposed to close these eyes. All right? Even if that also means being like a kitty cat. Hey, yo, Bastet, what's up? Kitty cat, Bastet. And take a nap. Take a nap. Take a nap. Take 3 minutes. 5 minutes. Let's see what else I may got for you. Let's get you some astro cards. Oh, fuck off. Iced tea. Okay. Let's clean that up. Sometimes my reflexes be on point. Off camera magic. All right. Picky, 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 picky. Okay, this one. Okay, I can take this one. All right, they're being very specific right now, so pay close attention, one card at a time. All right, so fire, burn, number 13. It's like death energy, right? Scorpios, y'all paying attention? Okay, next. Nope. Nope. Yep, okay. We have number 38, first quarter. Some of y'all paying to universal sinks and shit. Figuring out your 411s, 711, 444s, 333s, 222s, shouting them out to the universe. Ayo, ayo, it's 144. Ayo, 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 it's 222. 222. What the fuck is 222? I want to say 222 and 244. 222. So if you hear 222, someone come and translate that shit for me. 222. So Nirvana to get back to the basics, y'all. 222. Ooh, like I said, it's in Nirvana to get back into the basics, y'all. Because I got Joy, Sagittarius, number 9. Just had to use that. All right. Amazing. Yep, that's it. That is all that I have for you at this time, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between and beyond. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the interest of your ether of time and space. And may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.